morning, everybody. This is the second Topic Tuesday. In this Topic Tuesday, I'm going to talk about some of the things that you need to consider when creating a doula contract. The first thing I'm going to mention is to make sure that you describe what a doula is. Even though doulas are not new in any way at all, like there have always been people supporting women while they were in labor, it has become more common to hire a doula nowadays, and that's because it's getting more heard of and people are hearing more positive things about it and how it actually improves and empowers them during their birth experience. In your doula contract, you definitely want to mention at the top what the role of a doula actually is. You want to describe how doulas are there to physically, mentally, and emotionally support the birthing person and their partner while they're in labor. You can also go into a little bit more detail of what you think a doula is, but make sure that it still abides by the lines of what the definition of a doula is, because that's very important. You don't want to be the only doula that does vaginal exams or the only doula that is clinical, because then you're something else at that point. Another thing is, even though you want to describe what the general definition of what a doula is, you want to talk about what the services that you personally will provide as a doula. You're also going to want to include some of the things that you'll do before labor. Most doulas, but not all doulas, have prenatal consultations with their clients, just to get to know them and to figure out what they want out of their birth experience and how they want the doula to support them in that part of their labor. If you do regularly meet with clients, you are going to want to probably put in a number of consultations that you want to have. For example, I have at least 2 to 3 consultations prior to birth if possible. And this is because you want to get to know the client as much as possible before their labor so you can actually provide them the support that they need during their laboring experience. Sorry, my camera died, so I have to record from my phone now, but that's totally okay. So in your doula contract, you definitely want to mention what you want your client to do during labor. So if they think they're in labor, do you want them to text you a few times before they call you? Do you want them to call you right away? You also want to put in your travel time. So depending on the radius of miles that you are picking up clients or serving clients, you're going to want to talk about how much time it's going to take you to get to them, and also where you're meeting them. Are you going to meet them at their home? Are you going to meet them at their birth center? And I say this because what if your client calls you in the middle of traffic time and your client is 50 miles away from where you are? You can't say, give me 30 minutes to get to you, because that's not really ideal or realistic. So be realistic with your estimations and just put it in your contract. And that'll clear everything up so that they know to call you ahead of time if you live a little bit further away. In your contract, you're definitely going to want to mention the details of what you'll do after the birth. And that means immediately after the birth as well as for postpartum visits. Are you going to stay for the first couple hours immediately after the birth and to assist with anything? Or are you just going to go ahead and leave 10 to 15 minutes after the baby is there? Realistically, I don't think that 10 or 15 minutes after the baby is there allows your client or yourself that kind of closure that is needed at that very important time. It's not realistic, and it's also not fair to you or your client, because it gives you that kind of feeling in your chest that's not right. So you want to make sure that, at least personally for me, I will stay at least 1 to 2 hours after the birth, just to make sure that my client is settled and that they are ready. And then after those first couple hours or 1 or 2 hours is done, that also gave me a chance to assist with any, initial breastfeeding issues that may have come about, or just to be there to support that person. And that just makes it easier to, leave that situation, because you're like, yay, they feel settled and they're ready to have their alone, quiet family time. In this part of your contract, you're also going to want to mention your expectations for the postpartum visits. Is it going to be 1 week after the baby's born? Is it going to be 2 weeks after? Is it going to be a few days? You're going to want to mention that just so it's clarified. And you also want to mention how many postpartum visits you plan on having, whether that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You know, it really just depends on what services you're providing as a doula. A section that I think is really important and necessary in a doula contract is the limitations of a doula. Like I mentioned in a previous video, you're going to want to state in your contract that 1, doulas are not providers of any medical services. 2, doulas do not make decisions for you. And 3, doulas do not speak for you to your staff, so they won't speak on your behalf. It would also be a good idea to mention in your contract, again, I think that it's necessary, but to mention what is going to happen with you and your client during extraordinary circumstances. So what are you going to do if there's a rapid birth? What are you going to do if your client doesn't call you? Like, how are you going to know if she's in labor or if that person is in labor if they don't call or if you're not communicating? And last but not least, I think it's very important to mention your fees and what you plan on charging a client. Also, if you're like the different kinds of fees that you offer, like are you a doula that will do a free or volunteer with a client if they can't afford it? Or are you a doula that is going to have a sliding scale? Or are you a doula that has a solid pay, you know, like a solid fee that you're going to charge for your services? It's very important to mention these things, because if you don't mention them on a piece of paper, it can get a little messy, because financial conversations can be tough for some people. So it's really important to kind of have it on the paper so you have your side stated and what you're comfortable with, just so that your boundaries and limitations as a doula are respected. Because, you know, it's a job for you. And even if it's a side thing, like a side job, it's still you going out of your way to do something. So if you're charging for it, definitely keep that and keep your foot down and make sure that when you need money, to get your money, because it's you, and you don't want anybody to cross those boundaries or limitations, because you do want to be respected as a doula in general. So yeah, it's really important to keep those things in mind. So there you go. That is what I think is important to have in a doula contract. Some doulas will have more than that, and some doulas will have less than that. But I think that your doula contracts should definitely match the services that you're providing and your comfort level of the services that you're providing. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch this video. I hope that each of us learned something new, and please like, share, and subscribe to my channel so that we can continue to talk doula with one another. Bye!